Hey, what's up, Colliders? Welcome to the Collision. Daniel here, and it's hard to believe, but the Christmas season is soon upon us. This year has seemed just to have flown by, which means it's time for Christmas music and Christmas movies and even Christmas books about adorable stuffed pigs. The new book, The Christmas Pig by J.K. Rowling, was just released. I've read it, so let's talk about it. So J.K. Rowling, she's kind of in recent years almost made the news more for just sort of controversies, or seems someone somewhere at all times is mad at something she said or did or didn't say or didn't do. But one thing I think that's been kind of not in question is that she kind of holds, up in the higher tier of just the most talented storytellers of the generation. The Harry Potter books, whether you like them or not, were really a cultural phenomenon that maybe won't ever be equal. Just sort of the worldwide scope of those books and kind of how much those meant to people growing up in that time, myself included. I read those books when I was younger. Loved the stories. Again, you have theme parks. You have Harry Potter's everywhere continues to go strong. And kind of after those books, she took a bit of a well-deserved break from writing. She wrote more for adults, not as much for kids. Last year, she kind of made her return to the children's genre with the Ichabod, kind of a dark fairy tale, which I reviewed on this channel, so I encourage you to check that out if you haven't yet. And it's a book that I enjoyed. I didn't love it, but I thought it was nice for her to see her kind of return to her roots, writing kind of for children. And a year later, in time for the Christmas season, she makes her full return to writing a story that's really in her wheelhouse of a sort of a fantasy, imaginative story for children. The Christmas Pig, holiday themed, which I'll admit from the start, I'm a sucker for all things Christmas, so I am a target audience for this book. And really, I just finished reading this book the other day, and it reestablishes that she is one of the goats when it comes to writing for children. Just the imagination and just the storytelling. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was just a charming book. I thought it was fun to read. It had a ton of different fresh ideas and interesting stuff. Obviously it's aimed for a younger audience. It's written for children, but a lot like the Harry Potter books. That doesn't mean that an older reader doesn't have a lot to latch onto. And some of the messages and the themes throughout this book, even if it's geared, towards children, has been told through the eyes of kind of young characters in the story. I found a lot of applicability to even a 34-year-old like me that could latch onto it. And really, in some ways, the story is like a stew of just it's a ton of countless different inspirations. It's kind of part like Wizard of Oz. It's part Rudolph, the 1954 Christmas special. Part Chronicles of Narnia. Part Toy Story. Part Pilgrim's Progress. You can kind of see just a bunch of different places that she probably drew inspiration, similarities. And I thought maybe that would make it just seem like a rehash of stuff that's just so familiar. But kind of in her capable hands as a storyteller, and to her credit, that the story never feels tired or unoriginal or just copycatting. As the story started getting into it, I was like, oh, so I guess this is like a Toy Story book. These sort of characters coming to life. But then whenever it starts to feel that way, that it's a sort of derivative of some other previous property or story, she introduces kind of a new twist, or she takes it in a different direction than you thought. And I think kind of at the end of the story, even though you can trace, this is a lot like this, it's a lot like this, it's a lot like Christmas Carol by Dickens, and at the end you don't feel that it's something that you've read before, that it really is offering kind of a new take and this sort of a new imaginative world that she has to offer. As far as what the story is about, kind of the brief synopsis of this is a story about a young boy named Jack who has a stuffed pig that he loves, Der Pig he calls it, DP for short. And this pig is kind of his familiar, comforting companion throughout his childhood. That sort of when he's having difficulties and that he's going through a lot of difficulties with his family and with school and with moves, that this DP Der Pig is always there for him. You can kind of always talk to him and just kind of find comfort in this pig until one Christmas Eve, his stepsister takes this pig, this cute, adorable, stuffed pig, and chucks it out the window of a moving car. His family is unable to find the pig, so they buy him a replacement, which just doesn't satisfy. It's not, it looks the same, but it's not the same pig that he grew up with, that he loves, but the magic of Christmas Eve, that special night of the year, all of a sudden the things in his room start coming to life, including this replacement pig, which is called the Christmas pig, CP for short, comes to life and offers Jack kind of a one-night opportunity to save this pig that he had lost, to go to this kind of magical realm, the land of the lost, and find his pig and bring it home. And kind of the rest of the story is just their adventure going through this kind of mystical, bizarre, kind of quirky alternate reality where kind of the spirit of these things that were lost dwell, and looking for his pig. And just, in some ways the story plays out kind of more episodic. This, each chapter, these are short, couple page chapters, just encountering kind of a new part of this world, a new interesting character as they, kind of seek to find this lost pig. And the characters in this world, they kind of get increasingly bizarre. At first, it's mostly kind of expected things like lost toys, or, a lost coin, like a lost tool, a broken compass, kind of tangible things. But the more they kind of go on this journey, they start encountering a little more kind of out there things. Like gang is kind of bully gang of bad habits. All these habits that have been lost, like nose picker and sugar guzzler. Eventually, they meet kind of a royal family, which has things like hope and ambition. Sort of these kind of less tangible, more kind of philosophical concepts, which kind of separates it from feeling just like the island of misfit toys or a Toy Story thing. It widens the scope of just sort of things that we have lost along the way, and it just keeps the story always being kind of interesting. As far as this content to consider, there's really not a whole lot. I know Harry Potter, for Christian readers, can get a little squirmish with the magic. Personally, that was not a problem for me, but I get that a lot of Christians do feel that way. And this story does not have that same kind of stuff to be concerned about. Obviously, the land that the story takes place in is supernatural, and it's not it's not true. It's all kind of a imaginative, fictional fantasy land. But there's no kind of real direct like witches and cauldrons or things that can tie it more to like the occult or anything. So don't need to be worried about that. Rowling's always had a bit of a darker tone to a lot of her stuff. Potter, those stories were quite dark. The Ichabod, even though it's written for children, is a very dark fairy tale. And the Christmas Pig has moments like that too. It is a Christmas story, but it's not like there's a bunch of Smurfs singing Christmas carols or something. It's probably more similar to like a Christmas Carol by Dickens in tone, where overall it is an uplifting kind of holiday tale, but there is some kind of scary moments. The villain, I guess you could say, in this book is called the Loser. It's kind of this monstrous, almost like a Satan-like character that's in the land of the lost. That's kind of prowling around trying to devour these toys and steal hope of ever being found. And some of those moments are frightening, or would be for younger readers. And she just deals with more mature themes as far as what this boy Jack is going through. Things like his parents' divorce and being bullied and being just being angry inside about change and resisting. And it is a little more complex. And I think, kind of to her credit, she doesn't she respects her readers that children can handle this. But again, just be aware that it is a little darker, than maybe this bright cover might suggest. And again, as far as like other content, like language and stuff, there's not profanity or anything in this, other than a couple uses of like idiot or stupid that the characters and the children say. But other than that, there's really nothing kind of just on the surface of this book that I think a reader or a parent that wants to give this to their kid needs to be concerned about. as far as this, sort of some of the themes and stuff that I saw, kind of the message, it is a book that is kind of preaching a message, maybe not in like a just hammer you over the head kind of moralizing way, but it's a story that's trying to kind of help kids walk through and process some stuff. And I think there's probably two kind of main themes that jumped out to me. And the first one is just kind of the theme of growing up and kind of letting go of the past and accepting change. And like I said, Rowling doesn't, sometimes she might shoot kind of above the heads of her younger readers, but she never shoots below it. And I think she's willing to kind of go in and deal with some kind of more gritty, difficult, real life issues, such as Jack dealing with his family and this, change, and the Dur pig, his original pig that he's trying to find, really is symbolic. I think just it's not just like a childhood toy that he just likes because it's his toy, but it's kind of just symbolic of childhood itself. It kind of represents to Jack his past, or what he's familiar back when his parents were together and when he was at his original school, and he had his best friend, and just sort of things were kind of like they used to be before all this change and before moving and having to fit in at a new school and be bullied and dealing with a stepfather and a new stepsister. And this pig, so his search for this pig isn't just that he likes to have something to cuddle with at night, but it's kind of his grappling with just sort of letting go of the past, trying to accept that life is changing and there is difficult things, and he's kind of forced to leave some of his childhood innocence behind. And that's why I think, obviously this is something that can maybe help children kind of to work through some of those issues, but I think even as an older reader, that's an issue that older people face. It's just sort of, trying to hold on too tightly to the past, to our memories, to our nostalgia, not wanting to kind of just let go and move on to the next thing that God has for us, the next kind of adventure, whether it's scary or it's just kind of stepping into the unknown. So I think in that way, that theme kind of came out powerfully. It was an important theme, just sort of wrestling with sort of letting go of the past and moving on. And maybe the second kind of theme that I saw in this is just kind of an exploration of our relationship with things. All these things come to life. There's all these like tangible objects and things that we, kind of like a Toy Story thing, you kind of get to see from their perspective of how they, see humans and their owners, and the ones that are loved and the ones that aren't loved. And it kind of, it just looks at, why are some things, why do we love something? Why are some things matter and so valuable? And why are some things not? And there's like an interesting, as an example, there's an interesting moment where some like very fancy earrings show up in the land of the lost. Their owner has misplaced them. And they're kind of snobby objects and things, and they kind of throw a tantrum that they're being lumped in and forced to go stand with these kind of plastic trinkets and other jewelry that's cheap and not expensive. And it's just sort of an interesting look at, whether it's costly and expensive and kind of real, glamoury, or it's just sort of cheap, that things are just things. And, at the end of the day, all these things are temporary. The objects are kind of materialism is just, they all end up in the same place. They're all lost. They all kind of get forgotten and moved on. And, some of the things that maybe seemed like they mattered a lot more just don't matter quite as much. And sort of, you kind of see some of the objects in the story that are loved, that kind of have hope to be found again with their owner, aren't necessarily the things that we would think, the real expensive things, but they're the things that kind of connect with memories or connect with people, like an old toilet paper Christmas angel ornament that's not fancy, just homemade, that kind of has all these memories, kind of family memories with them, or just cheap toys, or a stuffed pig that's dirty and worn out, that kind of represents something more. And I think especially, I think that's kind of why Christmas is probably a perfect setting for J.K. Rowling to kind of unleash her creativity, since it is a season kind of that reminds us of our childhood and our wonder, and just makes us kind of think. It can obviously be a time of materialism and some of that, but it can also just be a time to reevaluate what matters in life and what doesn't matter, and kind of reorient us as we go into the next year. And that's really what a story like The Christmas Pig does. It just sort of shows, I found myself after I read the book just sort of thinking about the things in my life and, what really matters. Is it the thing I, just had to have some new object that I paid tons of money for, or is it something that my kid drew me and a craft he made for Father's Day, or just thinking through some of those. So again, I think it doesn't hit you over the head with that, but there's tons of stuff that she explores in that theme, which I think Christians can approach and just have a lot of kind of meat to chew on. So in the end, I really enjoyed this story. This isn't like the next Harry Potter for her. It's not some, masterpiece of her. It's just a fun, kind of inspirational, uplifting Christmas story. And, personally, I think you can't have too many of those stories that just sort of remind us of kind of where we came from in our childhood, and just makes us think about what matters. This book is filled with great ideas. It's a short book. It just took me two nights to read it. I could see it being something that maybe a parent wants to read to their kid as we come into the Christmas season and kind of use it as sort of a teaching tool. But again, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad to see J.K. Rowling kind of really returning to her roots of just children's story, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come. I'll eat a full Christmas pig myself if this doesn't become an animated special in the next 2 years. It seems tailor-made for that, and I think it should be. I think it has a lot to offer to kind of add to that pantheon of Rudolph and Frosty and all those stories. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys have had a chance to check out this book, or if you're just still not sure if this is the kind of book you want to invest in, I'd love to hear your comments. I can share more if you have questions about it, and just sort of what you took away with some of the themes, and whether it, like it did for me, whether it had you kind of reevaluating just how you relate to things. And I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, become a Collider. We got lots of stuff going on every week: live streams, movie reviews, book reviews. We're just doing a lot of stuff here. I'd love to have you join with what we're doing. Make sure you like this video, but most of all, guys, stay safe, have a great holiday season, and continue to collide with your world for Christ.